Hello, and thank you for taking a few minutes to join me again this evening. I've got a couple things I want to share with you today. The first I want to do here is I want to read to you a article from the news, and I'm going to put some of it up here on the screen as I read it. And this is someone who is a former Message believer. The title of this news article is "Troubled Christian Man Slays Wife, In-Laws After Talking with Pastor on Memorial Day." It is on the Christian Post. This is Wednesday, May 30th, 2018. It reads, "A troubled Christian Tennessee father who was hospitalized after a suicide threat on Friday fatally shot his wife, his in-laws, and then himself during a domestic dispute Monday shortly after he reached out to his pastor, who was unable to have an extended talk with him about his troubles because he was on holiday with his family. At about 2 p.m., Trimble said he got 2 odd text messages from Sean apologizing. I found it odd that he sent me 2 texts out of the blue and just said, 'I'm sorry,' and 'Pastor, please forgive me,' said Trimble. That is odd and quite eerie looking back. The Christian Post reached out to Trimble's church for further comment Wednesday, but no one was immediately available. At about 3:30 p.m., according to the Rutherford County Sheriff's Office, the trigger for Sean's apology to Trimble were made clear. Dispatchers received a call of shots fired at 1132 Rivercrest Drive, where the couple lived with their 5-year-old daughter. When officers arrived on the scene and entered the home, they found Sean and his wife dead, along with Cassidy's father, Kenny Adair, 55, and her stepmother, Shelley Alonzo Adair, 48. They were all in a bedroom where a handgun was recovered. Sheriff Mike Fitzhugh said deputies had been called to the home on Friday after Sean Gainey threatened suicide. He was taken in for medical treatment and his firearms were removed from the home. He was transported to the hospital, and we were trying to find out now what took place after that, Fitzhugh told the Daily News Journal. He explained that unless doctors determined that Sean needed to be committed, the case would have been considered closed from law enforcement. An unidentified friend who said he was the one who introduced Sean and Cassidy told Fox 17 that he also spoke with Sean on Monday, and he mentioned killing his wife, but he didn't take him seriously because he was known to exaggerate. Sean was also known for keeping guns hidden all over his house, including under his young daughter's bed, the friend said. He had a problem admitting to his own faults, the friend told Fox 17. Cassidy also owned a gun. She publicly celebrated Sean's gift of a Sig Sauer P238 pistol on Facebook last March, saying, "Sean sure knows how to surprise me. He's kind of the best." Trimble, whose church the couple had been attending since 2015, so, 2015, 16, 17, this happened in 2018, said even though he tried counseling the couple through marital problems on Monday morning, he never thought it would have turned deadly. He said he had spoken to the young husband and wife separately and suggested they spend some time apart and encouraged Cassidy to seek safety with her 5-year-old daughter. She had threatened to separate, and yeah, I would say that was probably the trigger, Trimble told WKRN. Trimble blames what Sean did in part on not being adequately connected to God and remembered his wife as a woman of faith. One can only do the atrocious things that Sean did if they are not adequately connected to God. That is pure evil. As a person of faith, the sting of Cassidy's death is non-existent. The girl is in heaven. She's received her reward. The true tragedy is for her 5-year-old daughter, and that a man let himself get so separated from God that he would do something so violent, so awful, Trimble said. On Tuesday, Trimble further wrote a statement on Facebook saying, "There is an evil in the world. In the 9 years I've pastored, I've seen almost everything one can see, but I still break in times like these. To the friends and family of Cassidy Gainey, I and our church mourn with you." Cassidy's friends, Kelsey Williams, who started a GoFundMe campaign to help the late mother's daughter, Piper, described her as sweet and godly. As most of you know, on Monday, May 28th, the world lost an amazing woman, mother, daughter, teacher, and friend. Cassidy Gainey was one of the sweetest, brightest, and godly people I or anyone ever met, Williams wrote. Her attitude, smile, and laugh rubbed off on everyone she was around. She was full of so much love and joy, and nothing would get her down. According to D&J, Cassidy, who grew up in Middle Tennessee, graduated from Ezel Harding Christian School in 2012. She graduated from Middle Tennessee State University earlier this month with a bachelor's degree in education and had plans to start her career as a teacher. I remember in our craziest days while finishing college, she would constantly remind everyone, it's okay, we got this. It's going to be fine. This is just one example of how strong and hardworking she was. She changed the lives of many students, teachers, and friends every day, Williams said. As I end reading that article, there's a number about this incident that happened. I remember it very vividly in 2018 when it occurred. I actually knew Sean Gainey. I knew Sean Gainey. I know his family. I stayed the night at his house. He's a few years younger than me. But he was in a church that fellowshipped in the sect of the Message that I come from. Sean Gainey and his family visited Faith Assembly Church many times over the years. And when the big breakups happened in the early 2000s, he and his family were targeted multiple times and verbally harassed by the preachers at Faith Assembly Church, publicly and from the platform, as they've done to many people. That harassment continued off and on against them and their family for years, brothers and sisters. That harassment was certainly still going on up into 2015, 16, 17, 18, and the years leading up to his suicide. I know that at Faith Assembly, a lot of times people don't think about what is behind what the preachers are saying, but they are indeed actual people on the other side that they are harshly attacking and condemning in their sermons and going after them in very vicious ways. And oftentimes they don't say their names, but you can be very sure that the people that they are attacking are fully aware that they are being attacked. And you can also be sure that the preachers and the leaders of the church know who they're singling out and who they're going after. Many times I would talk to the preachers before their sermons, and they would outright tell us, what was going on and what they were preaching and why they were preaching it. And oftentimes it was because of activities that people had committed, either in the church, but most especially people who had tried to leave or separate or to break away. After all the turmoil of the early 2000s, he eventually met this woman, married her, and went on to these events that happened, these very tragic events. He killed his mother-in-law, his father-in-law, his wife, and then he killed himself, and he did all of that in front of their 5-year-old daughter. Incredibly tragic story. Now, there's things I know that are not in this article. I know that Sean Gainey was publicly harassed and attacked from Message platforms in the month right around his death because he had left the Message. Brothers and sisters. And, he's a man who also had some mental health issues his entire life, I recognize now. And this is something that the Message has responsibility for. There's all kinds of stories like this that I could tell you about where really awful things have happened. And in the Message, they'll say, well, this happened because he left the Message. Well, no, I would say it didn't happen because he left the Message, but it might have happened because of the way that people harassed him when he left. That might have contributed to it, you know that? But people in the Message sort of rejoice when these sort of things happen to people who leave. They're glad because they use it as fear tactics in order to keep people trapped in. And they never for 1 second ever consider in their mind that perhaps the way we harass and attack the people who leave contribute to some of these problems. And brothers and sisters, I just want to share this with you. I think this is to me is a really troubling story. This is something that troubled me deeply. I was still in the Message for this and for years after this. This was something that very much troubled me in the way that the fallout of the way people who leave the Message are treated. And I want to share this with you because I want you, especially the people who are in the Message who still listen, I want you to think very seriously about the ramifications of the way you treat people and the fallout that can come from it.